Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Muta. I wanted to say, so there's a lot of conversations taking place because of the issues happening in the inner city communities, not only in America, but all across the planet and, of course, the Caribbean and the islands. And that is dealing with, the situation dealing with gangs, Bloods, Crips, and others. And it's really a misconception that has to be cleared up. So we know how it originated was the gangs were established to fight against racism, white supremacy. And particularly in America was originated to fight against racist police officers who were oppressing the people. And so that was the original purpose. CRIP, for example, stood for Community Resistance in Progress. It is when the community came together to resist the oppression, to resist the evil, to resist the wickedness that was being injected upon our people by the abusive system or the system of white supremacy. That original circumstance is what has to be understood so that people who are taking on the ideology now, whether they're in the Caribbean, if they're on different islands in Europe or Africa, calling themselves Bloods, calling themselves Crips or other things, should know for a fact that it's no longer what they think it is. Yeah. It's not even close.
All right. But why to give the people them, you started out the last time with a background of who you actually are, and you mentioned about being on a list. Mm-hmm. I think you should tell the people them what you were saying. So I want to explain to people what you were saying about that list.
Yes, sir. Well, for those who know, who are hearing my voice now, for those of you who have recently found out about me, I would say within the last 3 to 5 years, you know that I've been heavily active as it pertains to the health freedom movement, where we have been exposing the origins of the pandemic, the virus, vaccines, masks, that entire circumstance, and how we have been bringing out the real documentation, real information, as well as solutions for that circumstance. So I was put on a list of 12 people by the United States government, by the White House, by President Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, as well as the United States Surgeon General and 12 U.S. Attorney Generals. And they call this list the Disinformation Dozen. They said that we are the 12 people who have 65% of misinformation on the entire internet. They said literally this is, that list of people who are terrorists. They called us crazy. They smeared us all over every mainstream media platform you can imagine, from CNN to BBC to Fox to MSNBC, et cetera, and they called us every name you can imagine. And included on that list is not only myself, but also the new presidential candidate. One of the people currently running for the president of the United States, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was also named on that list as well. So it's not just anyone who they put on here. And from that point on, they have banned me from all platforms. Many of you who are listening, I think you know this. And they removed all of my platforms from all across the internet. I've only recently started to get them back because they have seen that what we have been saying is the actual truth. So that's just a little bit of the background.
Yes, okay. And that was where you get cut off the last time, right? So we'll go back now to the gangbanging I just mentioned in California, Los Angeles to be precise. So
yes,
you take it from there. You were talking about the Crips and the Bloods and how it originally started, what it was intention, but what it turned out to be. Mm-hmm. So what did it turn out to be?
Well, now it's actually, so where it actually started to evolve into is a self-hatred circumstance where it's brother against brother, sister against sister, people against their own people. And that's not what it started out as. What we thoroughly know is that every black organization that was established, whether if it is the Garveyite movement under the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, or the Nation of Islam under the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or all the way down to the Black Panthers, you name it, all of them were strategically targeted, infiltrated, and some of them, of course, were brought down through COINTELPRO, through government intervention, CIA, FBI, etc. And they did this by having some of our own people attack one another. So that is the same circumstance that happened with the Bloods and the Crips, where they infiltrated and they caused one to kill the other. They actually have been caught many times, meaning the police and government agents targeting, dressing up as Bloods, dressing up as Crips, going into different territories, shooting at each other to start gang wars, spark gang wars, or perpetuate gang wars after peace treaties were established, after peace agreements were established. And this is what it turned into. So now it went from just being in America, Compton, Watts, Los Angeles, Inglewood, to across the state, across the country, and now across the world.
All right. So what is it? What is it now that you could use? Where the gang is now? We don't hear much of that again. Them still do them thing, or them transform themselves, or that go?
Well, good question. In many areas now, it's not like it used to be at all. Many of the gangs have called truces. There are a number of them who have issued and ordered ceasefires where they have agreed not to kill each other. There are a number of gangs, individuals from these gangs that work together. They have established group programs. They have established these different drug rehabilitation centers, job programs, you name it, all across the country, where it's not the same. People are not killing the way they used to. It's not as many killings. It's not as many gang shootings. Nowhere near like it used to be, like it was in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
To move from that to, well, I don't know if I should say coming together. That's a coming together.
Yes.
The Crips and the Bloods come together. Farrakhan was doing some work with them all the time. Yeah, I remember that. But what is, call it a formula? What was the formula them use to really make the bridging them come together like that?
The first thing was knowledge of self and knowledge of the enemy. Learning about who we are, and then learning about who the real enemy is. Because this generation was adopting misunderstandings, thinking, oh, that's my enemy because he's wearing that color. Not realizing that, no, that was injected into your head, but the original purpose was something positive. It changed into something negative. Then your enemy made you believe that that's how it's supposed to be. And then some of our generation was raised thinking red and blue are enemies. Even when I was raised in Compton, California, that's what I thought. Red and blue are enemies, even though I had family from red and blue.
We have orange and green in our Jamaica.
You have orange and green.
It's not that so terrible again still, but that animosity moved from political war now to drugs and gang war in a Jamaica. Gangs fighting against gang and scammers fighting against scammers and all these things. But I could bring in the brethren. What the brethren name again? Keenan. All right. When I had a reason half year, about a couple of years ago, when they bring up the brethren with them kill Nipsey, yeah. And a lot of Jamaicans was tuned into that. Really, a lot of Jamaicans was tuned into that. And you say you knew him, right? You and him spar and thing. Tell me that story then.
Yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood. I've known Nipsey since he was about 16 years old, and he was basically on the street corner selling, his CDs, T-shirts, underwear, and socks, just basic necessities. And he was pretty much just, showing the locals how to get money legally, or as legally as as he could. He had a little bit of, a foot in the streets and then in his hustle, and he essentially stood on his own 2 feet when it came down to kind of breaking the rules with making alliances with enemies from other hoods, because typically there's a chain of command you got to get a lot of that okayed with, you know what I mean? But he started to build relationships with people like The Game, who was a Blood, YG, who was a Blood, and interesting enough, The Game is actually largely responsible for Nipsey's introduction commercially into rap. He was already doing his thing, but Game had the platform, and he ran into him one day.
So he was one of the gangsters. Nipsey was a gangster?
Nipsey was a Crip. Game is a Blood. Okay. And he ran in the Game, and he said, check out my music. And Game took his... So the day Nipsey was killed, it was, essentially over a man not respecting the rules of the neighborhood, not following the politics, where he was, essentially told that he couldn't be around until he fixed this issue that he had. And basically, when Nipsey told him what to do and how to operate in that space, he took it to heart He was ordering some food. He went and got that food, and then he came back and he shot him. And you know,
he shot him in front of other people.
Right in front of the whole establishment. Nipsey was up there signing autographs. He had just signed autographs. He had took a picture with the woman that was the killer was with. The woman that was in the car that drove him up there. He had, had just took photos with her.
With that same woman.
Yeah, and so this man, he walks up, and you can see it on the tape, on the camera. They shake hands, which lets you know it's not a beef. You know what I mean? To where the brother can speak to you respectfully and let you know the rules that you're playing by. You gotta go back and check in respectfully, but you can't be around here like that. So he couldn't handle that bruise to the ego, and he came back and he shot him.
Serious thing. Yes, I was said to you now. In light of that and the uproar that took place, them still have that animosity in a Compton or even in a Watts, because I know Watts. One of my good brethren, we put up a statue. One of the biggest. I don't know if it's still there.
Watts Towers?
A statue of a woman in a Watts. I don't know if it's still there.
I don't know if it's there, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, my brethren. They put it up. I was there for the unveiling of that statue. Them days they used to run go up LA at the show like wow, but no. Seeing that young thing spread so far and wide and thing, what would be your reasoning towards how we can just quell it? Because this is it become a pandemic, not even an epidemic, because we see it even come down as well St. Lucia as well. Since we don't have, we hear about shooting and, remember we asked the youth them, I did ask the youth them, how much you know? I think it's about 15 youth.
19 of them. Or
20.
Say,
how much you know somebody who get shot, dead. Almost about 4 of them never put up them hand. And when me ask them, say, all right, here we know. Relax and think on it, how you feel. And after a while, me ask one brethren, him say, a revenge my deal with revenge. What do you think about that? How we can move from revenge killing, drive-by, because a man shot the so-called brethren, you go shot him mother, him father, you look for him and I try to kill him. And then the cycle of madness just keep going on and on and on and on. Tell me, what is your view on that?
See, the thing that we deal with is we've been dealing with an oppressor that has always killed us, always done this, but we've never brought that energy to them. We only do it to each other. So the question I ask is, how sincere are you really? How tired of this are you really? Because if you're tired just enough to attack each other, but not enough to say, I'm going to stop going into a system that has always done this to me, my people, my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, my ancestors, but I let that system off the hook, but I just kill each other, then we're not too sincere. We're not really tired enough to do what is absolutely right, which is stopping that culture, building up ourselves so that we can establish something for ourselves and then defend it. Then we can change that energy, become defenders of what we own, what we have, what we build. Don't become killers of one another, because no intelligent man kills soldiers in his own army. No intelligent person kills his own comrades. No wise man prevents his own protection. So we have to have our own thing to protect. If we focus the energy there by saying, brother, we have to stop killing each other, that way this won't perpetuate, but let's build something. Then that energy that we have, which is wanting to lash out, wanting to attack, we can turn that as a defensive. Then we'll be justified if someone comes in and tries to disturb that peace that we've established. Then it's justified at that point. But we can't continue to destroy one another, because we won't have any energy nor any momentum to protect what we have.
All right, in Jamaica we have a situation where the government is black man, black woman government. The crime rate is perpetuated by black people. But we understand we understand that
Mindset.
there is something that was placed there from maybe slavery, from neocolonialism exists right now, the capitalist system. There's something there that is not being done as it relates to the core of the problem. You know, why is it that youth rise up and kill one another? So why is it that it's necessary for revenge by the authority for quelling some kind of thing? Why is it that the scammers, I don't know about the scamming in America, but the scammers in Jamaica is so thirsty for money, material things. If them don't get it, they will do anything for it. And it's very weird to know, say, people actually import gun in a little island like Jamaica, when we know, say, people use gun to kill people. So why is it that I want to know, say, a man a ship a portion of gun come to Jamaica, and him know, say, it's black people, him a go shoot. Sometimes it's a next man, family, wife, or picnic, him a go shoot. You know, see, in America, we can say, well, it's a white people government, and a white people this, and a white people that. But looking from the outside, oh, you that say that? Oh, you that? What you that think can? First of all, what you think is the possible cause of it in the situation where you come see right or so?
Absolutely.
I tell you about in Jamaica and even Trinidad, most Caribbean island now. Yeah.
Absolutely. See, originally, as you were saying, as far as the origin and the cause and where it really came from, definitely slavery is a major factor. The transatlantic slave trade is a major factor. And particularly when it comes to the Caribbean, the buck breaking and the breeding farms is a major factor, where it is down on the genetic level. It's on the cellular level. Epigenetics, meaning the pain, the trauma, the evil wickedness that was injected into our DNA. The fear of authority, but there's true self-hatred because we were not allowed to take out our anger on the oppressor, because we knew if one of us stood up, they would kill him, or if two of us stood up, they would kill him, and they would kill us in front of everybody to inject fear into the rest, to say, if any one of you niggas in particularly try to stand up, this will be the penalty. Yeah. So that is something that to this very day still affects many of us, not as much as it did, because this generation is now, as you see, we don't respect authority. We don't have fear. We don't fear death. We don't fear killing, which is not entirely a bad thing energy-wise. It has to be shifted, changed, and redirected into something more powerful, more positive, more productive. So what I'm looking at now is, if we have that energy to want to kill, then we should have the energy to build. If we have the energy to want to attack one another, then that means we can collectively defend each other from a real enemy, even if that enemy looks like us. Because the mentality, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, many of you are no longer black men and women. You are white men and white women in black skin. So the mentality now is something that we've adopted as a survival mechanism to say, I'm bigger than you, I'm bigger than you. Now realizing, no, you're walking around with your oppressor's mentality, killing your own people. So we have to realize what we're doing sincerely, and then also for those who have opportunities to provide more solutions. Stop abandoning your neighborhoods. Don't just run away. If you have an ability to help provide something, which I know we're dealing with our people, we still have to be wise, even with our own people. We have to provide some kind of solutions because our people truly need help. It's a lot of trauma, a lot of pain that we're dealing with, but enough of us have some type of solution, some experience to where we can come together and unify to bring about greater solutions.
Yeah, that's what you're saying about. To add to what you were saying about the resources, I think that that's one of the biggest issues. Myself losing my father young, having community, having elders with resources and things to take my mind outside of the trauma that I had just experienced. Because that trauma is so blinding and scary. And, you know, when you lose somebody that close to you or that that has that much authority and power in your life, you kind of feel powerless. You know, my father was my Superman. So when my father was killed, now I'm this young boy that's full of rage, And
What killed your father?
my father was killed the day after my birthday because of his street involvement. And he wasn't gangbanging, but he rolled with gangsters. And he sold drugs on the streets. And there was an issue with one of his friends that they wanted him. But he took a ride with his friend and ended up killed with him. He was 28 years old. So they both got killed together. And it wasn't even his bullet. It's because you took a ride. So with so many ways that it happens, it's not even just through gangbanging. This is a drug deal going bad, but with gangsters, because they don't have morale, because they don't have love and respect or certain values for themselves. And I think to answer your question is hurt people. I'm hurt, so I got to hurt the next man.
Hurt people. Hurt.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hurt. I see something in you that says that we share similar traumas, except for, you dress better than me, or you look a little better than me, you got better clothes than me or whatever, and you flossing it, because that's, yeah, and that's another, and we also forget that we tend to do that. We floss on each other, as we say, we floss on each other. We both poor, but we bragging about the one diamond we got. And so it's a form of stating that, I'm still better than you, even though we in the same circumstances. And I think when our brothers understand that we all in this together, and that we need more resources, that's the part where we need our elders and anybody else in the community that does have skill sets to teach. Because a lot of these brothers don't know what to do with themselves because they don't have education on things, they don't have a skill, or they just have too much time on their hand. And we see a lot of youth just chilling and don't really have responsibilities. And then it's easy for something else to influence them, a music, a song, especially when it's being glorified. You're getting an award, a Grammy, for Best Album of the Year, but you got a rag hanging out your pocket and a gun, so this is going to be the way I'm going to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really amazing, because in Jamaica, the darker the video is right now, when I say dark, I mean like dark, is the more the youth them gravitate towards it. Yeah. And when my brother tell me that you have a dark net, you have a dark thing that people go upon, and I know say the youth them know that already. We examine darkness, and to those of you who don't know me I talk about, when we say dark, it means it's just evil. Yes. It's just one of them things where I see one of them acid rock group with them, ear gone up my ear and all these things. And I say black people now gone into that. But it's so vicious that them actually are sure where them are do in the community with that dark video. And people feel say it's just art. It's not just art. No. It's what them doing, them projecting in the art. No, I know that you're an artist. Not artist as art, but art. Explain how you use art to facilitate a change in our community.
So, art, I'm a painter, and it can be used, it's like a gun. If I'm using graffiti to go and spray, something, vile message on the wall, then that's one way that it can be used. But I like to inspire with symbolism, with history, monuments and people from our past that inspired us, you know what I mean? So I love to paint on any walls, you know what I mean, that shine light on the greatness of black people. One of the pieces that I've done is, the Crips and Blood symbols are the bandanas, red and blue. And I made a picture one time where these hands were clasping, but one hand was made of the red bandana, the other hand was made of the blue bandana, and they were gripping fists together, basically stating that we're stronger together and that we're in this fight together. And that's just one of many ways that, artists of whatever genre you're in, whether it be painting or music, can be intentional about reversing the sabotage. Because a lot of us, we forget how rhythmic we are and how much control is in the frequency. The music is very real. So we normalize our traumas, and even, our egos, we like to see who's tougher, right? So whether it's we go in the backyard and we fight and whoever wins, it's like dark music is an extension of that. Who's tougher? Who can cut each other with our tongue the hardest? who can spew the most evil, and who can come off the most demonic. You know what I mean? It's that same ego, and you're just taking it from the streets to the art form, which is completely backwards.
Them call it clash. And some of them get into the most vicious thing against each other. And the crowd, 20,000 people stand up out there and say, keep going. It's like the gladiator. It's like in old time Greece, when them used to have man a fight, each other gladiator. And the more death and destruction is the more the crowd say, yes, yes, yes. You know, like, this is modern times. All right, so we're going to wrap up now. Tell me what, by the way, I never ever asked you what kind of work you do. What kind of work you really do?
Oh, yeah. No, author, researcher, speaker, international activist. So there's a lot of work that I do. I've been doing work in the inner city communities for over 20 years. I'm also, of course, very, I would say, prominent on social media, where I'm reaching millions every week with not only education, but as well as solutions.
Over here in the car a while ago when I drive come up and talk about a speaking engagement, Ice-T. Pardon me if I was prying to your business. Ice Cube. But I couldn't not hear because I was sitting right behind you, and I hear you very so excited about that. What is that all about?
Well, you know, me and Brother Ice Cube, of course, being from Compton, you know, the West Coast, there's a lot of work that he is doing when it comes to not only speaking the truth of what these organizations are doing, but he's now going on a tour called the the Gatekeepers Tour. Yeah. So he's now, you know, going against the oppressors and those who are trying to keep our people down by maintaining them economically and taking control of contracts and all of that. And he's exposing this. And so I would imagine he's actually reached out to me because that's the work that I do, is expose the system, educate the people, empower the people. And so now he's reached out for me. So I believe he may want to do something together in that regard as well.
That is very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, I really enjoy the time, and I enjoy the time you've been here and I've been here with everyone. And it's such a wonderful experience here, you know. Yes. Would I hope some more people would go up on the internet and find out this place is very important. Mount Kailash.
Rejuvenation Center.
Rejuvenation Center. It's really sweet.
Yes.
Yes, brethren and sisters, this is Mutabaruka and the Stepping Razor, the art of war. That time again, when we present the African names. Now, a couple of these names we say it already, but when people ask me if I say a name again, I know the name is in a group, yeah, and I don't know which one them I talk about. I don't know, trust me, because everybody I call the name them wrong, including myself. So, we're going to start with the female name in this group, yeah. Aminata. Aminata. A-M-I-N-A-T-A. Aminata means princess. Princess. Ama. A-M-M-A. Ama. Ama means famous. Famous. Ide. Ide. E-D-E. Ide. Ide means sweetness. Sweetness. Ifuru. Ifuru. E-F-U-R-U. Ifuru means daughter of heaven. Daughter of heaven. So that's Aminata, A-M-I-N-A-T-A. Aminata means princess. Ama, A-M-M-A, Ama means famous. Ide, E-D-E, means sweetness. And Ifuru, E-F-U-R-U, means daughter of heaven. Male name, Momar. Momar, M-O-M-A-R, Momar, means a philosopher. Philosopher. Runako. Runako. R-U-N-A-K-O. Runako means handsome. Handsome. Chabwiri. Chabwiri. Chabwere, Chabiri, means he has arrived. He has arrived. And Bayete, 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 means between God and man. Between God and man. And we're going to play this. Listen and listen well.
In just a matter of months, 4 African countries have had coups that have seen the ousting of their leaders. Leaders they claim are puppets placed by France so they can do whatever they want with the country and their resources. One may think they are wrong, but the fact that this got France angry and threatens to retaliate sends a message of what is really happening. France has threatened to wage an attack on Niger, who just had a military coup, and says the military leaders are a threat to their interest. They just displaced over 1,000 French troops from Mali to the capital city of Niger. But why is France so worried? What interest are they protecting? Well, if you haven't been current, let me bring you up to speed. Niger military leaders just placed a ban on the export of uranium and gold, especially to France. Uranium is a major mineral needed by France in its nuclear power plants. Uranium from Niger powers over 1/3 of homes in France, yet over 85% of Niger doesn't know what electricity is. Isn't that unfair? I mean, it is only fair if France helped in developing places and make them enjoy even a piece of their uranium. As a matter of fact, it is not just France. 25% of uranium entering the European Union comes from Niger. It is only logical that one day people will come to the realization that they are being cheated. And they just did. But France has decided they won't let it slide. France says it will do everything to protect its interest in Niger. It will be important to note that the USA also has a military base in Niger, and also you can remember it is a NATO member too. And you know, whenever any NATO country is at war, other NATO member countries come to help. This is exactly what is about to happen. The military leaders of Niger's neighboring countries notice the pattern and decide to back Niger. Who are these leaders and what pattern have they noticed, and why do they back Niger? Well, if you've not been informed, Mali and Burkina Faso have also had coups in their countries taken over by the military leaders too. Mali is led by Assimi Goïta, while Burkina Faso is led by Ibrahim Traoré. These two are strongly in favor of France leaving all of French Africa. They also warned that any attack on Niger means an attack on Mali and Burkina Faso too. They warned France and the US that they won't hesitate to send in troops to back Niger. Other ECOWAS member states condemn this act too, especially as the president of Niger is held hostage and they demand that he be freed. They also gave Niger a 7-day ultimatum to let him go. As a matter of fact, Nigeria has closed its borders and stopped all trade with Niger. The economy between Nigeria and Niger has slowed as a result of this, and the people of Niger suffer already as the country's economy heavily depended on Nigeria. The concern of Mali and Burkina Faso is that they see this as the same thing that happened to Libya. The fight starts with one NATO member, and at the end of the day, the country is at war with many NATO members. Can you see the similarity? Libya is in bad shape today because of its richness in oil. Congo is in constant conflict because it is so rich in natural resources and only one person is benefiting from this. France. Today, Niger bans the export of its natural resource and tit becomes a threat to France's interest. What do you think about this? Do you think Niger should continue trading with France for peace to reign? Do you think Burkina Faso and Mali should send in troops to defend Niger? As for us, we love to see a world where every country uses its resources to make its people happy and rich while sharing a bit of God's blessings to the world with other countries.
People is very upset that Michel Montano came to Jamaica and on Independence Day was given the key to the city by the mayor. And not only that, but the accolades that was read out was like a Bible, like an epistle. People vex. Them vex because they must say, the key to the city on Independence Day should be given to a Jamaican. And even though people recognize the artist, they must say that wasn't the place for really read out such a long epistle about him, accolades, and then give him the key to the city. People are vexed about this JLP MP. The JLP MP is a female too. Them have our name on the radio still, but here we know. This is just a pass by. This woman, the JLP MP who I talk about, have a piece of orange cloth in her hand in front of people, and she take the cloth, the orange cloth, and put it under her dress. Yes, that's what I just said. A MP, Jamaica Labour Party MP, female, put the cloth under her dress, the orange cloth. And a whole heap of followers, them say them not see nothing wrong with that. This is where the decadence reach, you know. This is where the people them who put themselves there in power and authority, them is the ones now who have set the trend now. Because when we hear Mr. Wormwood there, I tell police all bad word, I hear man I get locked up for bad word. And him not get no locked up for bad word. When you hear parliamentarian I take chair and I beat them woman and not no come out tight. So much thing and everybody apologize. What is this thing with apology nowadays? Everybody apologize. You do something and you apologize. You can't do anything. And if I cuss too bad on the area, so no one apologize, I'm not going to say, I just do it deliberately. I really want to cuss too bad on. Believe you me. Because it come like apology is the order of the day. You just do something. We say, I start Buchanan and say something and then them apologize. The DJ, they on the stage, and him come off and apologize. One next DJ, one woman jump up on the stage and push down the woman, and then little after him go apologize for the next show. Apology is the name of the game. You can do anything and get away with it. All you have to do is apologize. Okay, I have a correction for me here. And the correction even worse than the original thing what I say. You see, the sister will listen to me and hear me say what I just say. If you could have sent me the name of the MP. Yes, the name of her, because I know you know is who. Okay, all right, see it? All right, to get the name immediately. So this MP, Michelle Charles, the GLP MP, female, you know. What I said a while ago that she put the towel, the orange towel, under her dress, but no, it's not so it go. She put it under another woman. Poopa, no, because I said, Poopa Jesus, help the case. This is a member of parliament, you know. I want the people that want to say we are going to Jamaica. That's why I say Jamaica don't a real place, you know. The member of parliament, a JLP member of parliament, take an orange towel and put it under another woman's dress. The woman when she put the towel under her dress, how the woman they feel? But maybe she's a member of parliament and she have power. She can do these things. That's great. That's distasteful, man. Shit. I mean, show. That's distasteful. she add fuel. Come out by ear, she add fuel to the thing, you know.
Yeah, while she deal with it, she say, this have to hide.
What have to hide? The towel.
Yeah,
the orange towel underneath the woman dress. Under the woman dress.
Yeah, lift up the woman dress and go under the woman.
Lady, what's your name again?
Michelle Charles.
Michelle, you're a disgrace. A disgrace. Man jump on stage and cause badder than them lock them up. And you gone on at woman dress with towel. Nothing like towel too, but the symbolism of the towel is what make it even more distasteful. The symbolism of the towel. You're a disgrace. You should be arrested and thrown out of parliament. That is what I say. Yes. Who not like it, bite it. We just make some comments about this new development in I know it's not new. Time and time again, you hear a whole heap of coup in other parts of the world. But you know why the Africans them get so resilient against these colonial masters. Them look and see what happened to Libya. Yeah, them see what happened to Libya. When Libya was moving towards a monetary system that was not pegged to the American dollar, and what Gaddafi was doing in America, in Libya, the American them wanted none of that. So Obama and Hillary Clinton planned against Gaddafi, and Gaddafi was murdered. I don't ever want to talk on the radio how them kill him, because it's a gruesome murder. Them organize and structure that even Obama come back and say one of the greatest mistakes he made was what took place in Libya. Because after Gaddafi, Libya went right down the pit. Up to this day, there's no central government in Libya. It's who come first, take all. So Libya is not what it was during the time of Gaddafi. And no matter what them say about Gaddafi, because these people have a way for paint people as corrupt and wicked and terrible, and we not looking at what them doing across the world. Most of the wars that have been fought in the world right now, America is involved in every one of them. Every one of them. We're not looking at what Gaddafi was doing because we don't get enough news about that part of the world. If America is not there, you're hardly going to hear it. You're hardly going to hear it. So them kill Gaddafi. And now look at Libya now, a failed state, because it was moving away from the Americanization of the monetary system in Africa. And now we say these northern African leaders is getting scared that what took place in Libya is at them doorstep. Them feel say what happened to Libya is right at them doorstep with the French and the American them. It's a serious thing. And a lot of them is saying, watch out, we now gonna make what happen in Libya happen to we down here, so you know. So meanwhile, the Americans and the French and whosoever them friend is in NATO is building up propaganda against these people. These Africans is now saying, it's time we figure out something together. Not just as one country, but together. So a whole heap of them now is coming out and saying, no, watch out, we are standing with Nigeria, we're standing with them. We are standing with them. So, as me say, it's a very serious thing. Very serious thing. It might not look that it's going to affect we here, but just as the war in Russia and Ukraine affect we. We see things gone up because them are claim about wheat and all these things. And the war still continue over a year now between Ukraine and Russia. And America is pumping billions of dollars in that war and claiming that it's Ukraine fighting the war. When we know and we understand that is America using Ukrainian people to fight them war for them. Them arm them and say, go out there, go fight. Because that Russian system needs to crumble. Like every system that them Venezuela, Cuba, Libya, look at how long them fight the Libyans. Look how fight them fight the Liberia. We come and mix up the work, the country them now. As Syria we are talking about. Look how long them fight the war in Syria. And the man who them claim says a devil, him still there. And up to now, them can't win the war. Them go to Vietnam. 50,000 soldiers dead in Vietnam. And you have thousands of them who stay back and married into the Vietnamese structure. Have families and all them things, the Vietnamese families in Vietnam. And them have to run, left it. Afghanistan, the latest one. Who can remember why them got to Afghanistan? Who can remember why them went to Afghanistan? And when we look, we see them have to come out Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is right back where it was 20 years ago. With all that money, all that equipment that them leave down there in the hands of the Taliban, all that money that them pump into that. 20 years after, Afghanistan is exactly how them leave it, and even worse. Worse. So we saying, we have to watch these things, and our government in Jamaica, or the Jamaican government, I don't want to say our government, the Jamaican government working on behalf of these people is almost like a puppet on a string to these colonial, neo-colonial masters that is pulling them string while the people watch and recognize that things getting worse in them country. It's a problem. It's a problem because we over the other side of the world in Africa, we see the French again that had been colonizing most of North Africa, sucking the blood, the diamond, the gold, the uranium out of the countries like Mali and Niger and all these countries. The people them decide that enough is enough. France, get out of Africa. We're not going to tolerate you any longer to pursue a system of neocolonialism and colonialism. And America is also there with them. It's a problem. Because you know that America and France and these countries is part of NATO. And them say, if one country, just like Russia and Ukraine, even though Ukraine is not a part of NATO, but America is playing a proxy war in that part of the world. So you have other NATO countries joining them and fighting against the Russians. Whereas a similar thing is brewing in Northern Africa, Northwest Africa, Niger, Mali, you know, the people them in Mali decide say they want to eradicate French as them language and go back to them original language. And we see something else is brewing where they are telling the French to leave. And the French will have none of that. Big problem. Big problem. Big problem because more and more African countries is leaning on the side of the army in Niger. Niger, them call it sometime. Most of the armies in the other surrounding nations in Africa that has been colonized by the French is moving towards getting the French out of Africa. Big thing that. Big thing that. You're in a man country and you take out him uranium and him gold and all them thing there. And the little way I get carry surface the population. You're creating riches in France and Europe. And now the people them say, all right, enough is enough, you know, work it out. Them decide, say, no. We have this thing as our right. We cannot forget in Belgium when Leopold is responsible for the death of over 10 million or more Africans. And we know that even in the Congo, where the coltan is that material that is used to make your cell phone, your computer, and other accessories that related to the computer. Most of it come from the Congo. And there's pure madness. We call it all even child labor. Most of the digging of these resources is done by children in the Congo. And you have puppets, just like in slavery days, who side with the slave master, with the colonial masters, to dig out the wealth of these countries. And some of these army men is saying, enough is enough. We're not going to make you keep doing this thing when the people them is suffering. And if you follow the news reports coming out of the Western world, you will almost want to believe that these black people is mad. These soldiers is mad. Just like how when we look at Haiti now, you hear them talk about gang. They want to put a little face on it that is not what we call palatable to the brains. So them say gang. The gang them take over Haiti. And people know what say, you know, but I mind, you know, because Jamaica might become like Haiti. These gang in Jamaica is nothing that they are fighting for as a collective. All them interested in is self, riches. It's not an Asian thing. Because these youth in Jamaica don't business with what Jamaica is. Them businesses, them can buy a Mercedes-Benz and a big house and can have gold chain round them neck.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.
This is Mutabaruka. We want to present to you a wholesome kind of level of consciousness right now. So subscribe and tell your friend them. This is Mutabaruka.